Think about all the different broadcast gear that we use. Even the company I work with, Telos Alliance, things that were started by somebody with a better idea for technology and using technology better. Well, Paul Stewart is that kind of engineer. Paul's company, Summit Technology Group, provides software and services to broadcasters like you and me. Let's see what Paul has to say and what his company has to offer to make our lives better.
This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you by Broadcasters General Store with outstanding service, savings, and support online at bgs.cc. By Broadcast Bionics with the Bionic Studio, including talk show control, social media, and visual radio. Broadcast Bionics brings exceptional audience engagement to radio and TV. By Angry Audio. Audio problems disappear when you get angry at angryaudio.com. By Nautel, worry-free transmission you can count on with outstanding control, reliability, efficiencies, and Nautel's unmatched 24/7 customer support. Online at nautel.com. And by Max Connect Wireless, prioritized high-speed internet service designed for transmitter sites and remote broadcasts.
Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech. I'm Kirk Harnack, your host. I'm here, and we're going to have a good show today. It's Thursday. It is what is today? The 29th of August, 2024. It's been a hot week here in Nashville. SunKast, our producer, says they had terrible storms up in his part of the woods, up in Michigan. And we'll check in with the weather forecast from our guest in just a minute. Here, I'm in Nashville in the Telos Alliance studio in Nashville, Tennessee. We're going to talk about everything from the microphone to that light bulb at the top of the tower. And actually today we're talking about some real serious technology, the kind of modern technology that makes radio work better, sound better, and also some services, because we knew for the last 20 years, we knew that this time period was coming when we have a real shortage of engineers, or a shortage of engineers who frankly weren't getting knee replacements or in for cataract surgery, or having other, health difficulties because we're all getting old. And our guest today is younger than many of us. And our guest today, offers engineering services to a wide variety of broadcasters across the country. And it's going to be interesting because our guest not only offers, your typical engineering, repair and integration services, but also offers services that kind of help keep you legal, for, lightweight applications, coverage maps, that kind of things that you may not need to hire an actual attorney for. So we're going to check into that. But I'm excited to talk about the technology that our guest is going to bring us. Chris Tarr may be along. We're waiting on Chris. He's got a new computer and he's still trying to, find where the power plug hooks into, but I think he'll probably get that figured out. All right, let's go ahead and bring in our guest. Chris isn't here yet. Paul Stewart. Paul is our guest. He's the president of Summit Technology Group. Paul, welcome in. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Kirk. Thank you for having me.
Paul, you and I have met a number of times at Idea Bank conferences, and also with the that traveling post NAB show. That
Next Best
what's the name of that show?
Yes.
Next Best Thing. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we participated in that for a couple of years, and got a great amount of exposure across the country, and ultimately talked with a number of stations that had software needs and things of that nature, as well as for our array of service lines.
Well, now, when I first met you, and it may have been 5-6 years ago or so, what was your primary focus in what Summit Technology Group was offering to broadcasters at that time? What was one of your first products?
Great question. So our first product, which we launched in, I want to say 2017, was SideCAR.
Mm-hmm.
So that was our media logger product. Audio logging, transcription, machine learning analysis. We were one of the very first companies actually to incorporate artificial intelligence tools and machine learning tools into our software products for the broadcast industry. So we were kind of first to market with some of the AI stuff that's so popular now, and brought a great deal of tools and flexibility to our customers, both internationally, which little known fact, the U.S. is one of very few countries, if not the only country, that doesn't require broadcast stations to log their content. Virtually every country in the world besides the US, has some form of requirement for media logging for broadcast compliance.
Wow. Wow. Interesting. Okay. We'll talk more about that coming up. Some of the other things that are coming up in our show, just to wet your whistle, listeners and viewers. Paul's going to talk a little bit about mapping and frequency studies. Also, something that Paul calls regulatory assurance. And, this is a lot of stations can get bitten by not being compliant with rules that maybe we forget about, let it roll by the wayside, or maybe we no longer. Some stations, used to subscribe to various attorney services that would remind you, hey, this month these things are due, this month these things are due. And then some of the other products that Paul and his developers have come up with, they've got some interesting ideas on streaming. And of course, almost all broadcasters doing that now. Paul mentioned SideCAR, which is for logging of all kinds of media. And then I'm particularly interested in the weather service that Paul has been offering. The way Paul does it, a little bit different than everybody else, got some real benefits for broadcasters. And I know so many people have been using automated weather services. Some sound better than others. And we'll get Paul's take on that coming up. And then one thing that my business partner, Larry Fuss, is always very concerned with is making sure that our RDS data, or in the US, our BDS data, is up to date, accurate, and working properly. And also our PAD data, our program associated data, or PAD, for our HD stations is working properly too. And those can be frustrating to hook up. You cross your fingers and hope they keep working, and then something breaks you. You got to remember, how did I hook that up 4 years ago? It's been working fine. So we're going to talk with Paul about all these things. That I think they're all very helpful for us as engineers, and I'm excited to learn about them. Our show this week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by Nautel and the Nautel HD radio, HD digital radio, a test drive. What this is, it's a test drive of HD radio that's intended to break down the barriers between broadcasters and trying HD radio. HD radio transmission has the potential to create a presence on your car dashboard and help stations stay competitive in a big field of alternate media choices. That's based on Nautel's software-based air chain technology. HD Radio Test Drive allows broadcasters to try HD radio transmission in your market for up to 6 months to unlock listeners and content and new revenue potential without needing to install and purchase somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 of HD gear. And why can it save you that? Well, because Nautel has this mostly software-based air chain technology. They can do just about everything in software that used to require several boxes, numerous boxes, actually. You might have at least 4, 5, 6 boxes, and Nautel's got it, well, they can get it down to one box, actually, with their GV2 transmitter. What do you need to get started? You lease or purchase a GV2 transmitter from Nautel, or if you have a GV transmitter, you can upgrade that to a GV2. You need an Xperi main station or equivalent license and a signed trial agreement with Nautel. And then you need some audio. Of course, you can retransmit your main FM channel. That'll be your HD1. But the whole point here is maybe you'd like to improve that to your HD2. You'd like to add some more programming, maybe some ethnic programming, maybe a format that's missing from your market, and you can really promote that. Maybe you've got an influx of, as they say, newcomers. Here in the Nashville area, we have a huge population of Hispanics and Ethiopian people from East Africa. And I know the Hispanic population here has several media choices. I don't know that the East African community here in the Nashville area, for example, has any over-the-air media that's pointed toward them. So this could be your chance to serve an unserved population in your area, or try a new format like all comedy. I would go for that. Check it out at Nautel.com, Nautel.com, the HD Radio Test Drive. Hey, it's Kirk Harnack here, along with Paul Stewart. Paul is president of Summit Technology Group. Paul, if you would, rewind the tape just a bit and tell us, what was your impetus for starting Summit Technology Group? How'd you get going?
Good question. So, I think it sort of, really the impetus for me being in the broadcast industry really kind of happened in high school. We had WBFH, which was student-run station that I volunteered for, and really took a liking to the engineering side of broadcast. I wasn't really all that particularly focused on the on-air aspect of it, more so the engineering and administration of it. And so, going to college, I was selected to present on a capital improvement plan for the radio station at Albion College. Fast forward a couple of years from that, I called Enco Systems and asked if they had any job openings. And after being told no a couple of times, I sort of forced my foot in the door and got a job there, and worked my way up to an applications engineer, where I worked on Patapult and other metadata related products,
Oh,
some
okay.
other
All right.
interfaces with LDR and things of that nature. But there was, I was kind of the special operations guy, as it were, in terms of all the interfaces for um, sort of ancillary products. So,
Yeah.
um,
So you help connect things together that otherwise weren't wanting to connect naturally, right?
Exactly. It was the ancillary applications that connected to other digital platforms, traffic and billing systems, RDS, things of that nature. So um, I got a really good cross sectional understanding of the broadcast industry. I did a lot of on sites. Went to a lot of different stations that had different needs, and really just got a good understanding of what the broadcast industry needed. Commercial broadcasters, public broadcasters, things of that nature. Um, in 2014, I landed my first of now many contracts, and we've been basically providing engineering services ever since. Um, of course, 2017 we launched SideCAR. 2019 is when we launched ATMOS, the weather product that you had mentioned there in the open, and then in subsequent years, Tundracast, and this year we launched PostMaster, which is sort of the RDS. We call it sort of infrastructure as a service. It's not so much a middleware. It doesn't compete with middleware products on the market, but it does provide a cyber secure way to not only get content pad data to the transmitter site, but also offers album and album artwork lookup in real time.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we'll chat about that a little bit later on. I do want to cover some of these products and also talk about some services along the way, because somewhere along the way you got interested in providing non hands-on engineering services to broadcasters. You got interested in, I'm not sure I'd say legal services, but certainly services for applications of minor and major modifications, mapping, whether it's Longley Rice or other ways to map a station's coverage. How did you think about, hey, I also want to get into these other services for broadcasters to help them stay legal and maximize their coverage?
It's a great question. One of the things that we noted, in doing systems integration and doing um, maintenance and routine engineering for stations, we're not always the only game in town for a particular station. A lot of times we're competing with other national firms. We're competing with other, say, contractors in a particular market that are serving that station. Sometimes we're being brought in for more project basis, right? Installing a transmitter, design build of a studio, things of that nature. And we're doing that either for or in conjunction with a local contractor, or the station's engineering team. Um, but there are stations that we're able to serve, sort of the complete picture, right? Routine maintenance as well as project based. But what we noticed is that there was a sort of a hole in the market, and that was that not many contract engineers either had the capability to or wanted to take on the for one, the burden, and two, the liability of handling routine filings on behalf of a station. And sometimes it's just because they don't have maybe enough clients doing it to make it worth their while, right? Um, we kind of saw that need and said, well, let's help those contract engineers, those other national firms. Let's help broadcast. Otherwise, have to kind of keep a calendar of what's due when. They got to get the information over to their, let's say, DC based attorney well in advance for them to prepare this paperwork. And of course, we're no replacement for a broadcast attorney, but for a lot of the routine, especially the engineering focused filings, engineering STAs, ETRS, ownership and EEO, other sort of routine filings with the FCC. This is sort of, we offer a package to those stations where we can take care of all of that for them for a flat monthly rate.
That sounds like a really worthwhile service, something that I'm going to guess is a little bit less costly than having a Washington, D.C. based communications attorney handle these things for you. And yet it's maybe more services than a typical contract engineer might be in the habit of offering. So that sounds pretty good. Hey, Chris Tarr may be able to join us right now. Let's check in with Chris. He's installed a new ENIAC computer in his basement, and we're going to see if he's got any audio here. I see Chris, but I don't hear him. So, oh man. I think you need a monster cable for the mic, Chris. Chris is going to work on it. And we're going to take a commercial break in just a minute. So
all right, can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, hear you now. Hey, Chris.
Well, it's not a microphone now. I'm using my earbuds, but if you can hear me, that'll work.
Yeah, we sure can. Good to see you, brother. How are you?
Good. Things are going well. Just busier than heck these days.
Do you know our guest, Paul Stewart?
Never met, but I've certainly heard of him.
Well, his reputation precedes him. That's, the way it is with most curmudgeonly engineers.
Exactly.
So, Chris, I don't know if you ever used any of Paul's products, but we're going to be talking about those in a few minutes. In fact, we got just a minute right now. Paul, if you could jump in real quick, you mentioned this SideCAR Media Logger. And your webpage, it looks like it implies that it also maybe logs video. I don't know. It looks like that on the webpage. What does SideCAR do that a broadcaster might be interested in, even if logging is not legally required in the U.S.? Hey, most of my stations, we run an audio logger on our stations, so we can go back and prove to a disc jockey, no, you messed that up, you really did. Or more likely, we can show an advertiser, yeah, we ran your ad. Here's your ad. Tell me about SideCAR.
Absolutely. That's one of the biggest things, right? Is showing to advertisers, hey, yep, we did run this spot. This is what it sounded like. Here's your over the air feed. Here's your feed from the council, so on and so forth. There are things that obviously preempt what comes out of the council. EAS is certainly one of them. Could be a variety of other technical difficulties, sort of down the line, whether it's STL, transmitter related, things of that nature. You could certainly have an as play log that says you ran the spot, but no one really heard it, right? So that's a way to either prove that yes, this did run and listeners heard it, or yeah, we do need to do a make good. That's the proof of that was interrupted. As for the video, it's a file-based transcription and machine learning analysis tool. So you can actually upload video. For example, like this video here, obviously being recorded. We could go ahead and throw this into SideCAR, get a transcript from it, get a captioning file. So if we wanted to either put that on television or website that would require captioning, that tool can go ahead and produce that caption file. And then the machine learning analysis is cool. It allows you to sort of like aggregate and group audio and video files that have like a common theme, right? So if it's a political talk show and I name a politician, that's going to come up as a person, as a person, right? As a proper noun, or if I talk about a particular place in the world or a place in the U.S., that city or that state is going to be, kind of captured as a proper noun. And you can go through and say, okay, let's talk about all the times, we were talking about the, state of West Virginia. So we click on West Virginia, and all of the audio and video files, that have that search term in it, will populate. If we're talking about, athletes or, politicians or celebrities, if I say, I don't know, name a celebrity. Britney
Spears. How about Britney Spears? Every time we talk about Britney
Spears. If we say Britney Spears was in New York City this weekend or something for some event, let's say the Met Gala, I don't really know. All of those things, the Britney Spears, the New York City, and the Met Gala are all going to be those proper nouns, and we can search for, filter by, and look at all the times we mentioned the Met Gala, all the times we mentioned New York City, all the times we mentioned Britney Spears.
So we could record Chris's radio show, and every time the dude says cheese curds, we can locate that. Is that right?
Absolutely. And then once you found all the instances of cheese curds, you can actually throw a region over the area of the waveform, and you can click to download. So you can go in and say, yep, I want a compilation. Okay, it's like an instant replay. Okay, hey, I want a compilation of every single time Chris said cheese curds, and I could go in and I can highlight it, hit download, and now I've captured all of that content.
Chris, is there maybe a better example besides cheese curds that you'd want to search on for your own broadcasting?
There is never a better example than cheese curds.
I love it. You're right on. All right. Hey, it's time to take a quick break. We're gonna be right back. We're talking to Paul Stewart, and Chris Tarr has joined us, and we've got some other technologies to talk about. Logging with transcription is just amazing. I think that's such a cool idea, and we got more amazing things to talk about. We're gonna be right back after this message from our friends at Broadcast Bionics.
Welcome to the Bionic Studio. The Bionic Studio brings all audience interaction to the fingertips of a production team in radio, TV, and podcast. Our workflow-led system is working 24/7 around the world for small broadcasters and national and international networks. Our telephony module, Bionic Talk Show, allows cost-effective centralization, remote operation, scalability, and resilience across an entire network of stations, but at the same time is used in single-studio self-op environments. Social media curation and activity is now considered a broadcast-critical part of programming. Bionic Social means the studio isn't overwhelmed with a wall of interaction from an ever-growing number of social platforms. We combine SMS, MMS, and email, together with a speech-to-text service for listeners using smart speakers. We enable studio teams to curate, filter, and display all platforms in one place, and post text, images, and video content to multiple platforms in one operation. Effortless collection of video content with Bionic Director has helped position some of the world's most successful stations as leaders in viral content, generating appointments to listen and free marketing via retweets and shares. Bionic Contest enables end-to-end tracking of on-air competitions, live reads, and prizes. These could be on-air contests, automated SMS entry, or online. anywhere, and Skype TX for Radio brings high-quality audio and video contribution into the studio with ease. No need for dedicated PCs to run different applications. Everything is controlled within the Bionic Studio UI, and incoming connections are visible to users along with all other platforms. Our codec integration enables connection, algorithm configuration, and directory to a wide range of IP and ISDN codecs. The Bionic Studio, a unique suite of products designed to enable your talent to work smarter.
A huge thanks to Broadcast Bionics for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. You ought to check out their amazing products that help you and your talent do radio better. And as the engineer, if you're the engineer in charge, hey, you can recommend implementing these things to make your broadcast stations sound better without really working any harder, and help your stations get much more of a social media footprint and sound better on the air too. All right, hey, we are talking to Paul Stewart of Summit Technology Group. He's out of Michigan, just near Detroit, and Chris Tarr is with us as well. So, Paul, thanks for the correction there. Talking about Tundracast. Let's go ahead and talk about Tundracast. This is a product you guys have been working on for a while, and it's out in the wild now. Tell us about Tundracast.
Absolutely. So Tundracast is so this is sort of our version 2 of Tundracast, and it's a big improvement on the web interface from version 1. A lot of brand new capabilities, including geo-blocking, so that stations that are doing sports or carry other syndicated content can effectively block that outside of market. We have monetization tools, so talking pre-roll ads and things of that nature. We're also working on implementing mid-roll and also visual advertising for a website, which is fairly unique. It's something that we know that there's no other streaming platform offering that type of thing, and so talking about streaming, you're really talking about your digital footprint, your digital your station's digital ecosystem. And so so we've got certainly a lot to come. And as you kind of scroll through the page, you'll see the dashboard. So there's a good picture there. We got the dashboard there on the right, and then on the left, one of the configuration screens. It's a brand new, and it's kind of nice too to be able to put it into display mode and put it up on a screen in a break room or lobby, or in the rack room or in a studio, so you can kind of see where my listeners are, and how many listeners, what the listener trends are, listener loyalty, things of that nature. Also, sort of in line with the regulatory assurance services that we offer, and some of the compliance minded services that we offer, we're doing automated sound exchange reporting. To my knowledge, we're the only ones doing automated sound exchange reporting, and basically it's no intervention on the part of the user. There's no reports to run. There's no hey, log into Tundracast every 30 days and download your statement of use and send it in. It is all done on the station's behalf in an automated fashion after the close of the month. And so that is something that is, a very helpful tool to stations to kind of put their mind at ease that, they're not missing deadlines, or okay, remind me how that needs to be formatted, or I got to go through and put this all in the right format, and I'm goofing up different cells and columns and everything. So this is completely automated sound exchange reporting for stations. It asks a few basic questions just about the station, and how they're using music, and how they ought to be more or less sort of licensed. They obviously do need to have a sound exchange account, but that information is input into the into the Tundracast admin portal, which I've got up. I've got the screen share there. And SunKast, if you wouldn't mind, go and switch to that input. I've got it in. Yep, perfect. So I've got it, in development mode. So we don't have any listeners on here, but we do have the status, whether we're on air, or if there's problems with our encoder or problems with a server. We have various advanced statistics, listener trends, how much is desktop versus mobile listening. This one here, this is a good page. This is like, I guess what they call like nerd stats for engineers, right?
Yeah,
This is
sure.
this is your servers. This is your this is our servers. This is an all-in-one platform. This doesn't require hardware. This doesn't require any kind of equipment outside of either hardware encoders or software encoders. But you have your encoder status here, server status here, and then we've got two data centers here, both geographically separate. Obviously, you can see Detroit and Cincinnati, and the status of those there. In terms of the music reporting, we'll see. Again, we're in test environment here, so pardon the low number of impressions and repeats in metadata. But we're doing this. For one, we're providing IRSC code lookups, so that is done completely in an automated fashion. The impressions is how Sound Exchange prescribes that to be, and the reports that are available are here. But again, that CSV and text file for Sound Exchange, you only ever need to come in here and download that if there's some special case for it. All other times, it's strictly automated in its delivery to Sound Exchange. We have a traffic log. I haven't played anything through this environment, which is fine. But we do have a traffic log that allows you to see which commercials have been played, what traffic's been played, and how many impressions. This is the geo blocking that I told you about earlier. So this is of course we can block by country, state, county. So if I do Michigan and select county, Oakland, so I can save that and block listeners in Oakland County here. Let's see if we don't have. I could create one here.
Would you block listeners just because you didn't like them? Maybe you got a relative there that you not getting along with.
yeah. If you're talking about Oakland County in a negative connotation, you might want to block them before you do that. No, it would be typically it would be permissive, right? So you'd actually put you'd put allow, okay, and then you would just put the counties that you serve over the air. So if you're doing some kind of if you've got some kind of a network contract where you have to disallow people outside of your over the air coverage area from listening, then you can go ahead and do that within this product here. And I should note too, there's a metadata and control service, we call it. It runs on an automation computer, and almost all of these tools that would need to be switched in real time are possible through the metadata and control service. So if, for example, I want to put a command cut into my automation playlist, that I will start to geo-block right before I start the sports broadcast. I can do that. So, maybe that's a command that's immediately after the ID or something. So you ID, and then it kicks the listeners off that aren't allowed to listen. It continues to allow those who are in market to listen, that way you can comply with those contracts that require geo blocking. We're also working on a way to basically pair your Tundracast account with your FCC facility ID, and it would be able to look up your station contour and apply that to the geo blocking settings. So that would be, instead of instead of going through and selecting all the counties or all the cities or what have you that are permitted or not permitted to listen to the stream, you would just put in your FCC facility ID. It would say, okay, cool, you're station WXXX, and here's your contour, and based on your contour, this is what those geo block settings are going to look like.
Wow, that's pretty fancy. Wow. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
And one of the things I should say too, this is, Tundracast is built by broadcasters for broadcasters. This is there is a lot of functionality that sets us apart from other streaming providers that are more of a generalized, hey, anyone can have a stream kind of thing. We can certainly provision a stream for anybody, but really this is, this feature set is based on an understanding of the broadcast industry. So things like call signs, facility IDs, taken into account, station contours are things that are routine for us that might not be for for other streaming platforms. Going back into monetization, good question on that, as to why the heck would you want to geo block or geo fence? Monetization here is basically, this is like a very light traffic software. So I can come in here, I can take a look at all the various advertisements, and we can schedule them for different days of week, different. I don't want to delete it. Almost hit delete. I can come in here. I could schedule it for different days of the week, different times of day based on drive time. I can set an expiration date. So if it's good until a certain date. And then I also will get, once this starts to air, we'll actually get impressions. So number of people that listened, to each of these, each time it reaches a set of ears, that's an impression. So we're logging that, and that's great. That is a tool that you can, truly sell to, advertisers. There's all this talk about, how digital can provide, all this extra analytics and tracking and things of that nature, and that's true. And it starts with being able to provide results to an advertiser. Say, this is how many times your particular your spot played.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Chris, you probably are responsible for even more streaming than I am, and we don't do any of the geo blocking ourselves, but maybe we need to. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Chris? You have any questions for Paul?
Well, no, I mean, we do geo blocking as well. We're still kind of trial and error with it. The theory being, it's expensive to stream, especially when you've got 20 some radio stations. And, as much as we'd love to stream to the entire planet, if somebody is streaming in Florida, that doesn't really improve our bottom line at all. It doesn't really make us any money. It doesn't, help pay for the streaming. So we've started to do that. We almost got a little too aggressive, and we had some complaints of people who live in the area, but just outside of, maybe their ISP is just outside the boundary of something and they couldn't listen. So we've been opening it up a little bit more. It's a little bit tricky because, for example, if you're on like T-Mobile home internet, it could report your location as being, 6 states away, and therefore, or on a cell phone, it can misrepresent where you're at, and that affects geoblocking. But there's a case for it. There's definitely a case for it.
We when we initially went down the path of using IP for geoblocking, that was something that we identified as well. This certain, specifically wireless ISPs and LTE based ISPs had that same problem in our testing. And so what we did, we actually have an option to do it by GPS coordinates. So instead of by IP address, it's by GPS. Now it does require that a listener hit accept or allow for accessing their location. That's not something that we can get around. But once they've allowed them to use that location data, we can use that GPS data. And you're talking about a very, very granular, whether it's on a cell phone or a home Wi-Fi, things of that nature. You are talking about a fairly precise location at that point. Because it's using it's using GPS data and other precise location information. I don't know all of the details about that, but I do know that it is something that listeners do have to hit allow for. But that that vastly improves that location finding. And the other point that I want to mention too, you mentioned how expensive it is to stream. And that's true of, I would say, most streaming providers. What's really interesting about what we've done is negotiated with, there are 14 ISPs at each of our 2 data centers that basically provide a very highly redundant, again, 14 ISPs. We've negotiated with them that we are not paying by bandwidth. Okay, it is a straight flat rate connection, and so we pass that same pricing model onto our Tundracast customers, so they don't pay per gig or how many listeners do you think are going to be listening from 6A to 10A or so on and so. There's no math involved in picking a plan. There's two tiers, and very simple, straightforward. Here are some options on this tier. You get everything plus a few extra critical tools on the higher plan, but there's no need for bandwidth or estimating number of listeners during a certain period of time, and the higher of the 2 tiers has an unlimited simultaneous listener cap. So that's something that. Go ahead.
In our case, it's not a bandwidth issue. That's the cost. It's the sound. It's the royalty or the the performance payments.
Sure. That
where that about. Right. Yeah, exactly. And that that can add up when you've got thousands and thousands of listeners. And again, it's cool to subsidize our listeners that actually spend money with the advertisers. And again, we would love to not geofence. But when you're looking at we're a small company, it gets to the point where you have to look at some of that. And it was interesting though, because the first time we turned on the geofencing, I couldn't get the streams. Half of my stations are well outside of where I live, and I kept saying, well, I'd love to check our streams. I can't tune them in because I'm outside of the fence. So we decided we started out really tight and have expanded that a little bit, And, we can also add areas where, if we know somebody's going to be permanently in, it's due to something or another, they're reporting the wrong location, we can fix that. But yeah, I mean, that's great to hear about the bandwidth, because I know that that's a big concern for a lot of people, not only the bandwidth cost, but the redundancy, because that is also a very big deal. I know, I've been with places that have tried to roll their own and it's been a mess, and, or tried to, go through a CDN and, paying all this bandwidth cost. So that's pretty compelling to not have to worry about that.
Hey guys,
Absolutely. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we're going to continue this conversation in just a couple of minutes. You're listening or watching to This Week in Radio Tech. It's our 711th episode. You'd think I could say that, with Chris Tarr and Kirk Harnack, and our guest is Paul Stewart of the Summit Technology Group. Hey, Chris has got a message for you about an audio console from Angry Audio. Chris, take it away, sir.
Oh, I love this audio console. It is the Rave from Angry Audio. And boy, it has got everything you need to get the job done. Now, we've all seen kind of lower cost types of consoles and mixers, but they don't have the features of the big guys. If you're looking at like, one of those portable, like a Mackie mixer or something like that, they don't have all the features you need in a studio. Now this, it could be used for a small studio, it could be used for podcasting, but this has enough features to really be anywhere. You could put it into your main studio if you wanted to. We all know that we're using less and less mixer space and inputs. And this has really all of the things that a larger mixer would have, but in a smaller form factor, and well built and rugged too. It's got on-air indicator lights and tallies to turn on your external lights. It's got 2 output buses, preview on every input. Of course, the mic preamplifiers that Angry Audio is known for. Mix minus available. There's also full throw faders for the monitors and headphone volumes. Monitoring section for the board operator. Of course, a really nice high power headphone amplifier. And it's machined aluminum with laser etched markings. This stuff is not going to rub off the paint after a while. These are designed to take a beating. And in the back, Studio Hub, input and output. So you don't have to worry about splicing wires or, my favorite in the old days with the mixers is doing those Molex connectors. No, none of that. No. It's all Studio Hub Plus. So everything you need, power-coated steel chassis, RFI immune, all of those things that Angry Audio is known for. And just a fantastic little mixer. So all you need to do is contact your favorite broadcast supply dealer and tell them, hey, I want a Rave. I want a Rave all night long. It's the Rave from Angry Audio.
Oh my gosh. Thanks a lot, Chris. AngryAudio.com is the website. Our show is also brought to you in part by Max Connect and their amazing U.192. What is it? Well, it's a 192 kilohertz USB interface, and it's got the correct electronics and connectors to help you use one of these PC-based FM audio processors like the Omnia SST or Stereo Tool or the Breakaway One, and use that as your FM processor, because you need to get quality composite audio out of that to feed to your exciter or to feed into your composite STL transmitter system. Well, the U192 is really the only product in the world that was specifically designed for people with FM radio stations and software-based FM processors. The U192 is built by Angry Audio for Max Connect. You can find out about the U192 at the Max Connect website, MAXXKONNECT/U192. And in this thing, you'll find it does have analog ins and outs. It has digital in and out. It has a USB connector, and it has your composite outputs. This is the composite MPX output that comes out on a BNC connector to go to any FM exciter or any composite STL system. It's the right way to do it. It sounds absolutely terrific, and you're going to get a good value from this. It's going to be exactly what you want if you want to use a software-based FM processor. Thanks a lot, Max Connect, for designing and offering the U192. It's This Week in Radio Tech. I'm Kirk Harnack. Our guest is Paul Stewart. Chris Tarr is along too, and we've got a couple more interesting things to talk about. Paul, if we could switch directions, and I'd like to chat for just a minute about the one of the first services I ever heard about from you, and that's this weather service called ATMOS. And I think my stations are using a competitor to yours. Tell me about ATMOS and automated weather and what all ATMOS can do for my stations.
So ATMOS was a product that we initially brought to market in 2019. Again, that was we were a very early adopter. I won't say the first, but a very early adopter at the time of artificial intelligence based voices. So what know today as generative AI, and we had this idea that it was far better to feed complete thoughts, complete sentences to an AI language model than it was to use words and phrases and kind of compile them together in some sort of a round robin type way. And what we were able to achieve was, very professional sounding, very natural sounding text to speech. Couple that with, our knowledge of, what what the broadcast industry needs, both from integration with automation systems, with pad middleware and RDS, get time, temperature, weather onto your RDS at the same time you're presenting, a natural sounding text to speech weather report. Be able to name the character, put the station name and imaging in there in the report. And we use what you have on screen there, what's called ATMOS markup language. And it's that markup language that allows you to create whatever you want. This is not something that you will be forced into. Well, it's got to be time, temperature, and a single word answer for the weather conditions. You could look out several days. You could even talk about past weather. You could, if you wanted to, you could get into like wind speed and things of that nature. But most broadcasters want to keep it short and sweet and kind of create their own, create their own report. So we give them the tools to do that, to time it to a particular length. And be able to put a background music behind it, either from their own library or from a royalty-free library. And ultimately be able to put together, a complete package for automated weather. And we have stations that originally installed it in 2019. They have not even looked at the product since then, and it's just still running, nonstop, one weather report per hour, or however they have it configured.
Can ATMOS work in conjunction with my EAS system?
Absolutely. So we also have a CAP interface, so an IPAWS interface for reading in a natural sounding text to speech way. It will read a National Weather Service alert or things of that nature. For the engineers and station owners on here, we always tell them this is no replacement for an EAS unit. That's still, a regulatory requirement. But you're not required to carry weather alerts on EAS. That could be something that can be done, for one, not at all, or you can do it, natural, human operator can read the alert. You can certainly use EAS, or you could use ATMOS or a tool like it to voice the weather alert.
Chris, you've got a bunch of stations there in Wisconsin. Are you guys using some automated weather into your stations?
No, we've got local people that can do the weather. So, in those situations, they use their home studios, update the weather forecast, and send it over to our stations. I actually do know of, I believe, one or two stations that use a weather service. They're not one of mine. They're just stations I consult for. And they use a service like that, which is fantastic if you don't have anybody around to do immediate weather, severe weather updates and things like that. It's a great service for the community.
Paul, I'd like to, I want to compliment you on what you said about using some AI technology. You can make the weather forecast verbalize into complete sentences, not just parsed, not just a parsing of what the text is that you get from the zone forecast from the National Weather Service. For years, as you know, my business partner, Larry Fuss, we were friends with Tom Churchill and his automated weatherman service, or digital weatherman is what he called it. And it was simply a word for word parsing of the National Weather Service, which, unless you get the phrasing exactly right, it can be a little confusing. Like it would say high 98, cloudy, low 52. And you were, wait, when is it going to be cloudy? During the day or at night? And so the zone forecast isn't always complete sentences. And so it's good to have AI, really make it plain as to what's going on. And that's part of what ATMOS can do. Yeah.
Absolutely. We noticed that, the National Weather Service reports, the quality of these sentences also differs from office to office. What you might find in one market might actually be relatively coherent. In other markets, just like you said, it's awfully choppy and just bare bones information. With ATMOS, it's natural phrases. It's what feels good. It's what feels natural. We can even do little phrases about like, hey, you might want to pack an umbrella today. Rainy this afternoon, so on and so forth. So it's far more human than National Weather Service, and sometimes even more human than a human.
Hey, Paul, if we take a quick commercial break right now, our last one, after that, can we get you to show us what you want to show us with the Innovonics RDS data? Would that be okay if we do that in about 2 minutes? Okay, great. Sorry, we're running short on time. Once again, Kirk Harnack has lacked management of time. Does that ever happen? We're going to be right back after this word from VoxPro.
Hey, what's happening? St. John here, coming to you from Command Central, and wanted to tell you about the absolute best partner you can have in radio. I'm talking about, boom, Wheatstone's VoxPro. Now, a lot of folks have used previous versions of VoxPro, all awesome, but I want to tell you about some of my favorite new features in 7. And for folks who've never used VoxPro before, I'm about to tell you why it's an absolute game changer and essential for really fast-paced multi-element radio. Lots of different audio software out there. Why VoxPro? Because it was designed for radio. It's the only software designed to do what we needed to do, which is record, edit, playback in real time. When I say lightning fast, I'm going to show you how fast you can edit stuff up in VoxPro right now. So literally 3 clicks on the controller, mark left, mark right, everything that gets marked, you hit delete, it goes away. It's literally that fast. So we're going to take this part right here. Boom. From caller 9 to him saying, I'm ready.
Ready for that secret sound.
Boom. All of that stuff, hit delete, it goes away. Here's your edit.
You are tackling secret sound caller 9. I'm ready, St. John.
So one of the best features of version 7, this is awesome. It's effects macros, and you can literally put a chain of effects together so that instead of having to normalize a phone bit and then use noise reduction on it and EQ it and all that, you can literally build a chain. One button, this one's called call right here. I just click that. All of those processes happen instantaneously. Literally saves 80% of your editing and cleanup time. Final thing that I love about VoxPro, and there's so much more to get into, but one of my favorite things, you can load it on a laptop. I've literally done my show from a hotel room in Armenia to the conference room at, this was fun, jury duty. Great thing, no one could tell the difference. VoxPro makes it totally easy. Telling you, if you're looking for the best on-air partner, call my friends at Wheatstone, ask them about VoxPro, and you will be glad you did.
And actually get yourself a discount by calling Broadcasters General Store. BGS.cc is the website, and the phone number is 352-622-7700. 352-622-7700. They are standing by to answer your phone call, and they're good people at Broadcasters General Store. All right, we've got just a couple of minutes left, and I'm sorry I've let the time slip away, but let's get this on the air. You've got a product that called PostMaster, Paul Stewart, and PostMaster does exactly what, sir?
So PostMaster is essentially our suite of metadata handling products. So we've got Cloud Connect out now, which is think about it as infrastructure as a service. It is the cyber secure alternative to the traditional means of getting metadata from a studio site to a transmitter site. Traditional method is, you go to the transmitter site, you get into the router, forward some ports, you're opening ports. It certainly makes it susceptible to traffic hijacking and things of that nature. And you're forwarding that port to a fairly important piece of equipment in your air chain, not to mention all of the other equipment that's on that same network. So what we've done is implemented. We've designed this product that implements a cloud-based push-pull architecture. And so what that does is it allows for certificate-based, secure ingest into the cloud, into our data centers from a automation computer, RDS middleware, or directly from automation. That gets pushed to our cloud, and from there, one or multiple endpoints can request it. So you could have, say, for example, multiple of these Inovonics Model 732 RDS encoders, like I'm holding here. You could potentially have the Windows or the Linux based service that can pull it down. So you could effectively push one piece of metadata. New song plays, pushes to our cloud, and if that is syndicated on numerous FM stations, or you have translators that have that are pulling down and encoding metadata as well. All of that can be done in a one-to-many type of architecture. What's really neat about it is the speed at which somebody can set up that data path, right? The data path from their studio to their transmitter site. When we received the prototype from Inovonics with the brand new firmware with PostMaster integration on it, we were shocked to find out that it took all of about 45 seconds to get data flowing from our automation to the cloud and to the unit. So the setup time is 45 seconds. Of course, we knew what to look for, but I would say that reasonably speaking, it's a 5-minute setup. It is find your username, find your secure password, put those into the 2 fields in the RDS unit's web interface, and data is flowing immediately from your studio. So it is a very, very simple setup. It's great for station groups that might not have engineering, or their engineering is perpetually tied up with other things, as I'm sure the case often is. And then it's also something where you don't have to worry about, again, forwarding ports, opening ports. You don't even need a static IP, right? Everything's being pulled down from the cloud. So we're the ones with the static IP. There's no need for static IP either at studio site or transmitter site. That can whatever internet exists out there. If it's some wireless ISP that they won't provision you a static IP, no problem. This is the solution to that, and it's called PostMaster Cloud Connect. We also have an HD version that allows for album name lookup and album artwork lookup. So you provide us the song title, you provide us the artist, and we look up both the album name and provide the artwork along with that.
Chris, we got time for just a follow-up question. You got any questions about any of these things, including PostMaster?
No, I was just looking at, as he was talking, I was looking on their site at some of this stuff. Some fantastic ideas. I love the idea of the cloud-based metadata. Right now I've got servers that have to handle all of that. To have that out in the cloud would make life a whole lot easier. So some really cool stuff there.
It does seem a very appropriate use of technology that makes our jobs as engineers easier, and it offloads some of the stuff that we have to do. Goodness gracious. I mean, with you, Chris, taking care of close to 50 transmitters, and me, full-time job at Telos Alliance, plus, I'm part owner of 20 radio stations. I own the part that doesn't make any money. And this is why I work for Telos full-time. Services like this, I got to tell you, Paul, we're out of time, but man, I got to thank you for coming up, you and other people in our industry who come up with solutions that make life easier and more reliable. And, your stuff seems very reasonably priced. It seems like, look, this is worthwhile. This is better than having your full-time engineer dedicate time and resources to getting these things done. We just offload it to people who do that full-time. So, Paul, you got any last thing to say real quick? We got about 30 seconds.
Sure. Well, no, I appreciate you having me. I appreciate the time. And of course, I've always, prided myself on being an innovator, and we absolutely want to deliver innovative solutions to broadcast. This is an industry that we love, and just the other day with the power outages here, we were all in our business continuity center at the data center, and on generator power and everything like that, and able to continue to keep these systems online, keep these broadcasters up and running, through even through severe weather and things of that nature. So,
Chris, anything last to report from you? Any last
Nope,
thoughts?
not at all. Nope.
How's the new computer? Are you going to like it?
It's great. If I can get my microphone to work, it'd be even greater.
I'm sure it will. Is it an Apple product or a Windows-based thing?
No, it's a Windows-based product.
Okay.
But it seems like it's a sample rate. I record my microphone and it's all scrambled and really, really fast. So we'll have to see. Other than that, it checks a whole lot of boxes. So I'm excited.
Some people say that's how you sound anyway, so maybe it's actually okay.
It could just be me. You're right.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. We'll hear from you next week. Paul Stewart, thank you for joining us from Summit Technology. We'll put links in the show notes to you and to your services and products. I appreciate your participation very much.
Thank you, Kirk.
Always good to find out about new products and things that we as engineers can put to use to make our lives better. Speaking of lives better, thanks to SunKast for producing today's show. He's here every Thursday, making life better and easier for all of us. See, that's outsourcing. I could do this myself, but not very well. That's why SunKast is here. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye.